Auburn is now a slight favorite versus Baylor, but is Vegas being disrespectful?
This is the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub, I Joe, Be Will, by G. You are now listening to
It's game week, weekend tailgate, brought to you by our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamal grills. The summer is here for now, but almost over. You know, take advantage of that last little bit of time outside, grilling with your family or staying in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Also want to thank our friends at setsforsociety.ai. Get to know yourself with Sets for Society. They have custom personality assessments to let you know a little bit more about how you think, how somebody thinks with you, how you can relate to a team, how a team can relate to you. Want to be a better partner, coworker, just a better person overall? Setsforsociety.ai has custom personality assessments that can get you started on that journey today. Visit them to get your personality assessment started now. Guys, join as a member. $5.99 a month will get you there. I see we are barely 2 minutes live. Always 100 of y'all in here. We want to continue to build that number during the season. Ike is going to be on the road in Waco. Y'all don't want him to go hungry down there in Texas. I don't know if you've looked up food joints in Texas yet, but I hope there's something good for you to eat down there and Waco land. Either way, $5.99 a month will be at least a McDonald's cheeseburger while he's there. That's usually a safe bet. But we appreciate everybody for supporting us financially. It's just a great thing when you guys get behind us. You can also give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. Let's see if we can get 20 given away before the break. The season is here, so you want to be a member, guys. And if you interact with our channel at a high level, but you haven't made the decision to become a member yet, check your email. You might have a gifted membership in there waiting on you. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER. Get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. Let them know that the War Report sent you. They'll drop a little extra something in there for you. Also, check us out on podcasts, all the podcast platforms. We are there bringing you lots of great audio-only content with the Auburn Express Up-Tempo, the College Loop, Justice Tech, and the War Report gaming channel. So subscribe, download, turn on alerts on podcasts. We have been climbing the podcast charts this summer, guys. Our podcast downloads are actually off the hook. We want to continue for that to be the case. So subscribe on podcast. Help us grow our channel this season. We've got a goal by the end of the season here, and the goal is to hit 20,000 YouTube subscribers, but also grow that podcast number to a number previously unheard of. So you guys can help us out by just spreading the word on social media. We appreciate our community for doing all that. Now it's time to start the show.
Yes, indeed. Let's get into it. Thank you for everyone who is here with us live. If you are in here and you are a Baylor fan, welcome. Hopefully somebody sent you over here and told you to come raid the pantry of all the good War Report goodies that we have over here. Anyway, let's get into this conversation. Vegas has been a little schizophrenic when it comes to these numbers. When the first line opened, Auburn was a favorite. Then the number moved in favor of Baylor. Now it is swung back in the direction of Auburn. Auburn is a slight favorite in this game. Question is it enough? Do we feel like Vegas is giving Auburn enough respect? Is it, slight favorite? Does it sound about right? How are we feeling about where the line sits right now? Keep it in mind, but by the way, Vegas was pretty correct on what Mike G was saying before we got on, termed as awful football, about where they thought that game over in, was it Dublin?
Dublin.
That game in Dublin. They were pretty right about how that was going to turn out. And the numbers, those people who do those analytics are pretty good. How you feeling about the Vegas number now as it sits?
Look, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, Ike, but this game actually opened in Auburn's favor initially.
Yep.
Then it moved in Baylor's favor. And look, if you guys don't know how this works, I want to take some time to educate our listeners. Whenever the line moves in favor of Baylor, it's usually Vegas just trying to get even betting on that side of the line. When it moves in favor of Auburn, that means they've come to their senses and they understand who the better football team is. This is Vegas recognizing that Auburn's the better football team in this game. Now, there are some unknowns in here that keep this line close. And this is what I like to call the Hugh Freeze effect. When you have done what they've done the last 2 years, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. You're going to get a lot of doubt. You're going to get a lot of criticism. You get a lot of people questioning, like, even though you have the talent, do you have the coaching? Do you have the play calling? Do you have the moxie to get it done on the road? It's a hard thing in today's college football to go on the road and Power 4 conference play and come out with the win. So, no diss to Baylor. Like I've said this, I think that Baylor is going to be a solid football team. I think they should contend for the Big 12, albeit a lesser level of competition from top to bottom, especially at the top. It's more even throughout the conference, if that makes sense, right? You got a lot of football teams that I think are a lot of them in the same league. I think Baylor, whoever you consider to be at the top of the Big 12, Baylor is in that category. And they can beat you if you don't bring your A game, especially in their own house. Now, Auburn will be playing in front of a riveting A-Day crowd of 40,000. I think is how much they seat there. But you got to go and you have to be composed. They're going to have the crowd behind them. They're going to try to be as loud as possible. And you have to get off to a fast start on the road, I think, offensively. Nothing that we've seen in Auburn's time under Hugh Freeze has said that they're a good play from behind team. They get down on the road. My hopes for them pulling out a comeback are going to be very slim, guys. I'm going to tell you that, unless they break a lot of very, I think, ingrained habits that they've had the first couple of years. So, look, this line has been about what is Hugh Freeze going to put on the field here in year 3? I think that's what it's. You know what Baylor is. I don't think that the Vegas odds makers have anything. I think they know what Baylor is. The question is, what is Auburn going to be in this game? Right? They're the ones who have the most changes. Someone was arguing with me this on social media. I was like, look, they were like, well, teams get better year over year, Mike. And I was like, okay, but that applies to Auburn too. The difference is Auburn has more variables that have changed than Baylor has year over year. So if I expect one team to be more of the same, it's going to be Baylor, not Auburn. And quite honestly, man, from a scoring standpoint, Auburn doesn't really have anywhere to go but up. If it gets any worse than it has been the last 2 years, good God, we're here for one hell of a durable. Yeah, but they moved the ball last year. So if they even hold serve moving the ball and improve scoring offense, I gotta like Auburn in this football game. That's where I'm at.
Fair. See, how you feeling about it?
This is about as close to a pick'em as you can imagine without it being an actual pick'em. I mean,
Baylor's not even really getting much of a home bump here. Like they're behind in it, but this is actually solidly an Auburn line when you consider what they give you for Auburn being the road team here.
Which was definitely what I was going to say, Ike, is that this definitely is an Auburn bump when you consider that Auburn has been their record the past 2 seasons on the road is 4-5. So if you consider all of that, obviously Vegas thinks that, hey, Auburn is a very talented team whose talent should travel well and should do well in this game. That's basically what I'm saying. The Auburn is going to overcome their history of not doing well on the road consistently and win this game in a close game. Again, I know I've heard Both sides say that they think Baylor fans think that they're going to run away with this. I've seen some Auburn fans say they're going to run away with this. I expect a competitive game between these two teams. And I'm curious to see, because with something Mike, you mentioned, you watched the Iowa State Kansas State game. The concern with game one for most teams is that you don't want them to come out looking flat. And how does that affect the play of the game? Is it a close game because two teams are working out some of their kinks? There's a lot of changes and variables on the Auburn football side. Does that work against them in this game as they're trying to get the offense going? It's hard to say, but I think Auburn has something we've talked about. Auburn has been, even in losses, teams have had a difficult time running away from Auburn, even when they're at home. Auburn has actually been very competitive. I expect more of the same in this game, and I do think that when it's all said and done, Auburn's talent is able to pull out a victory in Waco. And is this a sellout? Is this a sellout, guys?
They just like literally like 2 days ago just said that they sold out of tickets to this game.
Okay. There was some fodder online, Caesar, about like the fact that they had not sold the game out versus an SEC opponent. I read that as early as this morning. So I mean, look, they were having some trouble, I think, and then Baylor fans were just like, well, it's Auburn's fault. Y'all fans ain't driving 800 miles to go see this one.
It's wait a minute, they said it's Auburn's what?
Yeah.
It's our fault you can't sell out your stadium.
Yeah, it's Auburn's fault because Auburn fans aren't traveling to Waco, and that's why the game is not sold out. Yeah, I read that multiple times, and in more than enough for it to be like a one-off fan, right? Like it's in our comment section right now. I'll go find
that's
the
pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty special. That's
it is very special.
That's a special response.
So what that says to me is this is a team that is actually not used to selling out games, and they thought that Auburn fans were going to make up the deficit for what they normally don't do, because there's no way that you're blaming Auburn fans for not selling out a stadium of that size.
Yeah.
This was a 90,000 seat stadium and it wasn't sold out. Okay, it's a Friday night. Here's the reality of it. The reality of it is it's a Friday night in Texas for a team in Baylor. And I told you I'm going to stop saying no disrespect intended because I mean every word of it. All disrespect intended is like the 5th most prestigious program in that state. And maybe I'm even being generous with 5th, right? Because you definitely have other teams that are bigger in that state. And so you're competing against Friday high school football for people's attention that night. And people are going to go see their kids play high school football because that's the culture of that state. And so that's not Auburn's fault that you can't sell out that stadium. That's the reality. And the reason that it even probably inched towards sellout is because of Auburn.
Facts.
How about have your own fans show up to support your team?
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't bode well because we've seen Auburn take over stadiums. At least we've seen it in basketball. If this is a start of things to come for what Auburn fans hope the season will be, I expect to see Auburn well represented. This is a fan base that travels very well.
Yeah.
And I don't expect anything different. And as far as the line goes, I don't think it's disrespectful. I think that winning, you've seen over the years when Nick Saban was coaching Bama, how they would get the Bama bump. They would get the benefit of the doubt because of their reputation. Their reputation began to precede them because of winning. I think for Auburn, I think you're getting this bump because of the talent that you have, and it's now time to start getting that bump because you're actually winning games and doing it against competition that's favorable. So I'm excited about
hold
that.
on. Let me not cut you off because somebody says you can still go to the website and buy tickets. Because I am media approved right now for Baylor, and this happens literally for I've been getting media stuff for every team that I've ever been to their thing for because I'm in their media stuff now. On what date was this that I got this email? Friday, Baylor's media team sent out an email that says sold out. Baylor football announces a sellout versus Auburn. Auburn football season opener. Baylor's football season opener against Auburn is sold out for the blackout on the Brazos. Still very limited berm availability online. Student tickets can be claimed starting at whatever. Fans look for the official game announcement. So they announced it as a sellout. But if you can still buy tickets, then I don't know. I maybe a sold out game means different things. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, that's pretty much my thoughts. Is that I think that this speaks to the fact that Auburn is an incredibly talented team, and I think I've even heard Baylor people give credence to the talent that's on Auburn's roster. I think it's undeniable what Hugh Freeze has done at Auburn. The question is, can he put it together and put together an amazing product on Friday that will secure an Auburn victory? That's what we're ready to see.
Anybody who's paying attention understands the level of talent that Auburn has assembled is remarkable. However, there are two very big questions in this game. One, Jackson Arnold, and two, Hugh Freeze. And those are really big factors that could have an impact on the outcome of this football game. I think that's a fair question from anybody from the Baylor side who has questions about whether Auburn can win this game. Will they self-sabotage? Will they be up? Can they produce enough points? If your question is, can Auburn produce enough points offensively to win a football game they should win, that is a valid question. And if you're hanging your hat on that, that might not be a bad bet, because you've got a 2-year data point size to look at to say, look, man, versus the likes of Vanderbilt, they couldn't do it. At home. Vanderbilt at home. These are the trends you're trying to break if you're Hugh Freeze. And if you don't like that these narratives are sticking to the program, too bad. That's what they've done. So, so a lot of Auburn fans are beating their chests because they understand that the level of talent is there. It's just a matter of whether or not we see something different than we've seen the first 2 years. Now, what I think a lot of people are hopeful of is that this coach has been really honest in the media about where he feels like his team is at. His tone, I have said his tone has been different than the previous 2 off seasons. And he has said repeatedly that they don't feel like they've had the personnel to run the sort of offense they're accustomed to running. This year, they feel like they have that personnel. He was very clear the first 2 seasons that he felt like they didn't have it. And he's been very clear that he feels like they're a lot closer to that this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm just taking Hugh Freeze at his word, guys. I already think this is going to be a lot better because when he has been iffy in the media, it has looked like
iffy.
Yeah, like the iffiness has come through in the results.
Yeah.
I very rarely heard him bluster about his team since he's been, and I wouldn't say he's been blustering, but he's definitely a lot closer to, we're going to be a good football team. We expect to be good this year. Than he is, we don't have talent, and we got to recruit, and we got to catch up to Georgia and Alabama. So,
yeah, no, he's definitely been a lot more positive about where the talent is. The question is, to your point, how is it going to play out on the field once once foot hits leather here coming up on Friday? Like, what's going to be the outcome of how the game goes? Because to the point that we've made over and over again, I'm not sure the talent has been so bad that the results on the field justify that conversation to be as big as it's been. But it is a conversation, and now we've eliminated that conversation. Let's go out there and see what the execution looks like, and let's go out there and see what the coaching looks like.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, Hugh Freeze has something to prove. This staff has something to prove. You don't want the doubt. You don't want the haters. You want to be considered a contender every game you go into. You want teams to actually respect what you do. You have to go put something on the field for them to respect. Offensively, they haven't done a lot of that. Now, they did do, when we already have this conversation, it's easy to fall into the trap of saying or projecting that Auburn has not done anything offensively. They were middle of the pack to just above average moving the ball last year in compared to their SEC foes. As a matter of fact, they moved the ball on a game-by-game basis just as well as Baylor did last year. And they won 8 games. If you take out the bowl game numbers and you just look at the regular season numbers, guys, Baylor had about 70 to 80 more. It wasn't even 100 yards more of offense than Auburn through the first 12 games. And the reason why I stopped there is because Auburn didn't have a bowl game. But by the averages, Auburn was just as good as move. They just weren't as good scoring it. They had big plays. Go look at the big play rate last year. Peyton Thorne was finding guys downfield.
Yeah.
So you may not have liked how it ended, but between the 20s, Auburn was fairly good.
And so that's when Hugh Freeze talks about he has the personnel, I'm expecting he has guys who can actually get in the red zone and actually finish drives. Guys who can actually take care of the football. These are the things that was Auburn's undoing offensively. To your point, Mike, Auburn was explosive between the 20s. Auburn actually was moving the ball. It wasn't like Auburn's offenses of prior years where the score was anemic and the offensive production was anemic. They're actually moving the ball and they're starting to move the ball, which is progress. In year 3, Auburn has to start finishing drives. Scoring 17 points, can't even reach the 20 points against P4 competition. That's not happening in year 3. That cannot happen in year 3, the year that Hugh Freeze has been projecting to be the year Auburn gets over the hump. Auburn has to start finishing drives.
Let me tell you what that looks like, guys. Alex McPherson is going to be good for at least plus 6 points a game.
Sure.
Off the rip. 2 more field goals per game. And then 1 more touchdown. 2 more Alex McPherson field goals and 1 more touchdown from the offense, and Auburn's going to win a ton of football games if their per game scoring average holds on defense, what they allow. That's all it's going to take. Now, if for some reason they start giving up a crap ton of points, then of course that prediction goes out the window. But that's not something anybody's calling for or anticipating. Defensively, under Ron Roberts, they were good. I thought that they did an even more admirable job under DJ Durkin. So if that continues, Auburn's going to be okay.
But so what do you think the Vegas line should be here? Like, what do you think is a line that makes more sense?
I think Auburn -3 makes more sense to me.
Add a little bit more to it there.
Yeah, I think Auburn -3, if you add in being able to make a 35-yard kick, makes more sense to me. At the end of the game, I trust Alex McPherson to make a game-winning field goal. Now, look, defensively, I'm just not sure that Baylor fans understand what they're in for. Defensively, I think that their fans have completely underestimated what this defense is capable of doing in terms of keeping teams off the scoreboard. And I don't think that Baylor is as talented offensively as some teams.
I'm actually very much with you about the lack of respect I think that they're giving Auburn's defense.
Yeah, it's very disrespectful.
I listen, if you've heard me talk about this, I feel like Robertson, good quarterback. I feel like they have good receivers and they have a really dynamic tight end. But I feel like that gets neutralized by what Auburn has in their defensive backfield and what Auburn has at linebacker. So when the thing that you are your best at is also the thing that Auburn is really good at, which is covering, then it comes down to line, right? So like which line, and that is usually the thing, right? Like who's going to control the line of scrimmage? Is Auburn's defensive line going to be able to impact what Baylor wants to do on their offensive line in both run game and protection? And if you're going by last year, I could see why Baylor fans would say, okay, maybe we have some places where we could take advantage there because Auburn hasn't been dominant in those areas. But I don't know that that's a great bet this year. I actually think the defensive line is going to be improved this season. So if you're hanging your hat on, we're going to be able to protect Sawyer Robertson and we're going to be able to run the ball. Oh no.
Here's what every Baylor fan is doing right now. They're accounting for improvement by their team while assuming the team they're playing has not improved at all. That's what I see happening. That's when you live in the void that is your own team's media and all your it's like
when Auburn fans do this, when they see their team working out, it's like, oh, the boys getting ready. It's like everybody's working out right now. Like there's not a program around the country where you can't post videos of people working out. This isn't some voluntary situation where Auburn guys are showing up and nobody else around the country is doing that. But yes, to your point, Mike, fans do this. We're going to be so much better next year, and everybody else is going to stay the same. It's not true.
Yeah. Now, what I would say about Sawyer Robertson, because part of it is I think they've completely overestimated how much improvement year over year, right? And saying, hey, this guy is a much better quarterback than Jackson Arnold. That's where a lot of the comparisons have shown up. And I'm saying, like, by the numbers, and if you take the ratios, not only is he not much better, I'm not sure if he's better at all.
Yeah, again,
when you factor in all
the win-loss column is the place where people are going to point to. But to do that without taking into account all of the other considerations for Jackson Arnold is crazy.
Yeah, like his whole wide receiver room getting hurt, the offensive coordinator getting hurt mid-season. I thought I saw someplace where an Oklahoma fan thinks they went from firing their OC mid-season to thinking that they got a top 3 OC in college football this year. And I mean, look, that's fan hope. That's yes, you hope. You look, man, a lot of people are calling for John Mateer to win the Heisman. He's going to be put to the test this season. One thing I have learned over the years we've been covering college football is that whenever people start pumping a dude like that, they're going to be ready for you. If you're going to put a spotlight on him and you're going to say, hey, man, we think this guy is a Heisman candidate and this and that, well, that becomes practice motivation. I remember back in 2003 when Auburn played Penn State in the Capital One Bowl. They put, I think he was number 20, Larry Johnson was, when he was at Penn State. They put his number on every defensive player. I'm saying offensive player in practice that week. 2,000 yards, Larry Johnson. Don Dunn. I will never forget Coach Dunn just screaming that. 2,000 yards. Who's going to stop him? I'm not sure Larry Johnson rushed for 80 yards in that football game. I think it was like 73 yards.
And he was actually talking a big noise before that game too. I remember that.
Yeah, he was talking a lot. They scored 9 points and lost. But that Auburn defense took that personally. Everybody thought he was going to run all over them. They were like, all right, come meet this down south defense right quick and we'll show you what's up.
Mateer has to play Michigan, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Bama as part of their schedule. If Mateer
those are some good defense.
If he's still in the Heisman conversation, he's the truth.
Yeah.
He's the truth. Again, he's going to get tested. We're going to find out if he's a Heisman contender or not.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing about playing in the SEC is that if you get Heisman hype, you're going to be tested. It's why, like, the guys from the SEC that have won it over the years, it's really been no question at the end of the season whether they're winning it or not. I think Devontae Smith was one of the first receivers in a really, really long time to win it. The Joe Burrows, the Jaden Daniels, like these guys that have come out of the SEC recently, it's not even been a question. There's been no drama going into the Heisman ceremony who's winning it. If you do it in this conference, you're the real deal. You do it in the Big 12, I'm not so sure. A lot is left open for interpretation. You got to have RG3 type seasons in terms of making big plays and finding guys downfield and being that dude for it to stick. So, look, did they upgrade at quarterback, bringing in John Mateer? I would say yes. Oklahoma absolutely upgraded. But, that doesn't mean that Jackson Arnold doesn't have room to grow or cannot turn into the type of quarterback that he was. I saw a TikTok popped up the other day of, Jackson Arnold kind of he works with Patrick Mahomes' QB coach. So he's working on pocket presence. He's working on moving around the pocket. He's doing all these things this offseason. And when you watch him throw the ball, it's like, yes, I get why they rated this dude a 5-star. I absolutely get it. There's a kid from Arkansas that committed to UCF, and when I watch him, it's the same thing, man. Like when you watch him practice, you're like, yeah, I get why people are high on him. His name's Kane Archer. He was the only 3-star actually to make Rivals preseason All SEC as a quarterback. And you know, some guys just have that thing, man. You know, somebody thought Jackson Arnold had that thing. Will it show up in game 1? A lot of folks overblew Hugh Freeze having a hard coaching moment with Jackson Arnold in practice and taking it as, see, that's the old Jackson. He hasn't learned anything. He hasn't changed. You guys are in for a real down ride with Jackson Arnold because he missed one throw in practice where he should have seen a guy open in the back of the end zone, which I promise you, Mateer will miss a guy this year. I promise you, John Mateer will miss a wide open receiver in the end zone at some point next season.
Every quarterback does. So, yeah, it's not even a crazy statement.
Yeah, the fact that that moment was caught on camera and Hugh Freeze did what most coaches do in that moment.
Coach?
Yes. It was wild. That turned into what it was. And the Baylor media jumped on it to say, see, you don't have a quarterback and we got a guy who threw for 3,000 yards. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, like I'm with it. Like if he had thrown the ball as much as Sawyer Robertson did last year, he would have thrown for 3,000 yards too. That's what the percentages say. Look at the average yards per throw and look at the percentages. If he had had the extra 120 or 30 throws that Sawyer Robertson had, he would have been a 3,000-yard passer too. I'm not sure they're as much better at quarterback as they think they are, if at all. My question is really, guys, about Hugh Freeze. It's what's Hugh Freeze going to do in this football game? Yeah. How is he going to dial it up? Right? Is he going to be able to get the guys, the playmakers? And then for Jackson Arnold, my question is he going to be accurate? This was a criticism that I had of Bo Nix at his time at Auburn that I felt like he fixed at Oregon. It was that pinpoint accuracy on those like slant routes and stuff. The ball was, you know, out in front of the receiver, but not too far out in front. He was hitting guys, not just he was hitting them in stride, but proper ball placement. His ball placement was much better at Oregon than it was at Auburn. And as a result, his receivers got a chance to make a play after the catch. I have no doubt that Jackson Arnold will get the ball to the receivers, but is he going to be that sort of accurate that when you hit Malcolm Simmons or Eric Singleton on a slant, that those guys will catch it effortlessly and then use all their supreme athleticism to turn the ball upfield and go make a play for you?
Can they get the yak?
Or you're going to make them fall to the ground to catch every ball when they're wide open.
Yeah.
You know, when fans, oh, you got your hands on it, you should catch it. Okay, yes, I get that. But do you understand that little bit of that lack of detail of accuracy in the passing game can affect the yak yards that make the difference in how an offense performs?
Yeah.
And in a close football game, it could be the difference in the game, guys. Yeah. Might look like a routine slant where he fell down, but if he could have broke that for a touchdown because you were accurate with the football and your ball placement, and you lose by a touchdown, and the problem with this is we can't go back and say that absolutely would have been a touchdown. You just have to know that if he is accurate with the football, that those plays could be there. What we know is if you don't make that throw accurately, they absolutely will not be there.
Right. And you have guys who, if you get them the ball in space, they will punish opposing defenses.
That's Eric Singleton Jr. this year, though.
Yeah. You got guys, you get him in open field.
One tackle on this guy, Caesar, he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the strategy is going to be. Spread them out and give space for these athletes to go out there and do what they do. Listen, we've got a whole week left to talk about this game, and there's so many more angles that we can approach it. I am looking forward to the next, we have 5 days to talk about it before day 6 when we actually have to see what's going to really happen in this game. But we're going to go to our break really quickly. I want to get over here to these comments because comments are coming in fast and furiously. But you are watching the Weekend Tailgate. Make sure you're liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing the content with somebody. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
The Rage Room. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Set up a session today at one of the 2 great locations in Opelika or Birmingham by visiting opelikaRageRoom.com or BirminghamRageRoom.com.
The War Report would like to give a big Auburn welcome to our newest sponsor, Aim and Associates. That's Abel's Iron and More. Look, guys, they're an independent, fee-only registered investment advisor, which means they're fiduciaries required to always put their clients' best interests first, and they've been doing just that since 2003. Jeff Iannone, the president, and his wife Robin are both proud Auburn grads, and with 2 sons who have already graduated and one still on campus, you can tell this is an Auburn family through and through, which means they're going to do the right thing, exactly what's in that Auburn creed. What I like most, no minimum balance required, just straightforward, honest financial guidance built around you. And trust me, their approach is really different. In just one conversation with them, I've already learned more about how I can better handle my finances for the future and my financial security. So if you're ready for financial advice you can trust, call Abel's Iannone More and Associates at 912-777-4128 or visit aiminc.com. That's AIMAINC.com. And War Eagle. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iannone and More Associates for this endorsement. Abel's Iannone More and Associates is a registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The information in this advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be considered personalized investment advice. All investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Call Aim and Associates today to get on your path to financial security. Guys, I want to thank our title sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use the codes on the screen to make sure you get your discounts on your weights or on your grills. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. I want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. Visit them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. The Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Also want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. And great sponsors, longtime sponsors. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. As we mentioned at the top of the show, sign up as a member. There are lots of things happening this season that will be member only. You want to be a member when the season gets here. And also, I saw a few given away. I didn't see how many, but let's see if we can hit that membership gifting total. So let's go ahead and give those memberships away, guys. Help grow the Green Name Gang. If you have a black name in the comments right now, check your email. You might be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships. YouTube chooses these at random, so we have no control over where they go. We just know that if you interact with the channel at a high level, but you have not become a member yet, you are more likely to be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships. Ike does a lot of film reviews. As we mentioned, our game day chat on Friday, myself as Caesar Walker and hopefully B will make an appearance here on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be on, and we're going to be with you guys throughout the game while Ike is covering live from Waco, Texas. We're going to pray for his safe travels there and back. But yes, guys, sign up as a member and check your email to make sure you're not on the receiving end of one of these memberships. Let's get back to the show.
Thanks, everyone who is in here live with us. And let's get to talking about something else that's impacted the offseason. Oh, actually, hold on. Let's get to the chat.
I check your mic.
Your mic. Yeah, I think you may have switched over to your laptop mic.
What is that about? There we go. I don't know why it switched, but all right.
Does it sound better, Mike?
No.
It's not better.
All right.
You guys handle the chat. I'll pop in and pop back out.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get over here to the chat and see what you guys are talking about. I want to thank Lawrence Robertson for gifting 5 War Report memberships. We appreciate that. We're going to get to our super chats here. Caesar, a 9-time champion. Colorado has prime time, but we are 9-time. I like that. I love that. I love that. That's amazing. You guys are
that's
on
funny.
it today. He even
Creative.
Yeah. Darius Lee says Baylor media and fans remind me of Martin Emerson for Mississippi State, jawing at Seth Williams, but Seth had the last word. Auburn will dominate. We certainly hope so. Yeah, but I do remember that clip is so iconic of Martin Emerson just going off and Seth Williams just listening to him until he caught that touchdown pass over him, and then he let him have it. Well, what I love most about that play is the ref understood the assignment. He was like, all right, I saw him talking, so I'm going to let you get your get back. Just don't go too far. And he definitely got that. Lawrence says, I think Vegas is factoring some home field advantage. I agree. They are factoring some home field advantage for sure there. Devin, our favorite commenter, says, oof, that game was terrible. We need to stop doing international games. I tweeted this. She's talking about the Kansas State-Iowa State game. So Chris Phillips, our guy over at SEC Unfiltered, said, hey, would you guys be in favor of the SEC moving games overseas? No. And I said, no, absolutely not. We don't need to share everything. Let's keep that back home. And stop taking opportunities away from fans to see their team play live. By moving it overseas, are you kidding me? Like
people who may or may not even care.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I'm firmly against that idea. I don't like it. But yeah, that was sloppy football, man. I mean, it looked close on the scoreboard, and Fox will sell it as a thriller, but it was bad football.
I don't even think we understand just how challenging it is to expect these kids to travel across the country and play at a high level, right? We've seen teams go across country and they don't look like themselves, Mike. Could you imagine going across the world and playing a physical football game at a high level? Like, that's tough, man. That's tough to ask those kids to do that.
It is very tough. Want to thank Rhino Ranchero for being a member for 23 months, almost 2 years of membership. Is Baylor truly a must-win for Auburn to prove that this offense is going to work, or could Jackson Arnold get grace in a loss? And the real must-win is OU. I do think, I don't know if it's a must-win in terms of the SEC, but it certainly puts a lot more pressure on those first 3 SEC openers. You open at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, home versus Georgia. That's the toughest stretch of Auburn football on this schedule. And I've said, if you beat Baylor, you only got to get one of the first 3. You lose Baylor, and then you only win one of the first 3. You're 3-3 headed into a 5-game stretch that should be winnable, but you can't afford that classic Hugh Freeze drop a game to Vanderbilt or Kentucky or Arkansas or any of these games that you should already be favored in. It's not just about if Auburn loses, it's how Auburn loses. If they lose a sluggish game where they cannot move the ball or cannot score, the level of freakout is going to be high and it's going to be warranted. That's what it boils down to. I'll get to the last comment before I turn it back over to Ike here. Auburn has the best defensive secondary in the country. Auburn has the second best wide receiver room in the country. Tell me how I'm wrong. I think Auburn certainly has the wide receiver room guys that everybody wants. And if you're pretending like you don't want Malcolm Simmons and Eric Singleton and Perry Thompson, did you guys see the thing that I posted about, or I think we talked about on the show, about the guy who said he doesn't understand Eric Singleton's move from Georgia Tech to Auburn? He said it didn't make any sense. He said he went to a worse situation. I mean, again, it stinks of one person who only covers one team and not the other.
But he covers the ACC. He doesn't know anything though. So
yeah. I don't know if you even looked into Auburn at all last year. If you, I think a lot of Penn State fans said the same thing about Keandre Lambert-Smith. They dogged him, and he was a better receiver at Auburn than he was at Penn State, and he got drafted. So
number one, he went from a number 2 to number 1 at Auburn.
There's recent precedent for a receiver making the jump from another Power 4 conference and doing better. and becoming the number one receiver. I don't understand that sentiment. But look, man, Auburn's
it's
wide
win
receiver
losses.
room.
You're looking at it in terms of wins and losses. You're not looking in terms of offensive production, because Penn State has been a struggle bus offensively. If we're going to be honest about it, they play good defense, and that defense has allowed them to stay in games and win games.
Yep.
But it's not wide receiver friendly, much like what I could outline as it pertains to Georgia Tech. They've been winning games, more games than they have in the past, but they haven't been doing it through airing the ball out. So if you're a receiver who wants the ball, you're going to go somewhere where you're going to get the ball. Because ultimately, you're trying to get to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he was an NFL caliber talent before he got to Auburn. Coming to Auburn and having the potential to do what he did last year plus some is not going to hurt his NFL aspirations. And unless you think that Georgia Tech is a surefire college football playoff team, then I don't even know how that's a conversation as to whether or not this was a good move for that young man. So, all right, let's get back over into the conversation and talk a little bit more about some other things, which, listen, Auburn has picked up a ton of momentum on the recruiting trail, right? Like, there's no denying that the reality that was Auburn is woefully behind is changing direction right now. Not a top 5 program or anything like that, but far from where they were. Most recently, Braylon Womack makes his commitment over to the Auburn Tigers. See what you're feeling like in terms of the Braylon Womack commitment and the direction of Auburn recruiting.
Auburn is cleaning up in the state of Mississippi. Auburn is getting who they want out of that state. I think, if anything, Auburn has made their presence felt in that state, and that's due to the fact that you have guys like Nix, you have guys like Hugh Freeze, you have the offensive line coach who came over from Ole Miss. You have guys on that staff who have coached in that state, who understands that state really well. You had Jace Matthews, who committed a few weeks ago out of Mississippi. Again, these are kids who are bypassing Ole Miss, who's actually been doing really well as a program, and coming to Auburn. Like that, to me, it speaks to how much this coaching staff has prioritized the talent in the state of Mississippi. And it's one thing to prioritize them, Mike, is another thing to get these kids to commit to your program. And Auburn's been doing that, not just this year, but they've been doing it in prior years as well. And so it's a testament to how well they're recruiting. But much has been made about this wide receiver room, that Hugh Freeze has amassed talent, and for good reason. I think it's almost starting to become an important conversation about the DB room, Ike, because over the next few years, you're going to have some dogs on that side of the ball. And to me, it feels good to see Hugh Freeze get his guy in the secondary, because the past 2 seasons, Auburn has been right there at the door to get a big 5-star DB recruit and just couldn't get him to ink with the program. Obviously, this kid hasn't done it yet. He can't do that for another 3 or 4 months, Ike. But to get that big name 5-star DB recruit to commit to your program is huge. You lost to Georgia year 1, you lost out to Oregon year 2 for a guy. To get this guy now, is this room really, as talented as it is right now, just got another huge addition. And I think this DB room is in good hands. I think the talent in this room is amazing. And for what DJ Durkin likes to do, having that much talent in the secondary, given what you're trying to do in the front 7, Auburn's defense shapes out to be a scary unit in the future, bro.
Yeah, I mean, listen, also, not mentioned about like the momentum that's happening with Auburn is, I think, a guy, we hated when some of the guys who were kind of leading the recruiting charge walked out of the door for Auburn. Kenyatta Watson has been doing amazing work for Auburn in the recruiting, and he's been hugely responsible for a lot of these relationships that are being built with these recruits. So definitely want to shout out to him. But Deuce Knight tweeted out on the day of the commitment. He said, "The best in Mississippi come to Auburn," with 2 exclamation points there. Hashtag War Damn Eagle.
Yeah.
And you gotta love that. You gotta love because listen. am well noted as a hater of the Rebels. Like, I just don't like them. I don't like their coach. I don't like anything that's got to do with the Grove. That ugly powder blue, nothing. I don't like them, right? Broken ugly through and through. But I love the fact that the quarterback for Auburn is taking shots, maybe not directly at Ole Miss, but definitely, some shots at the fact that we don't really even want to go over there. We're coming to play at Auburn from the state of Mississippi. And looking forward to seeing those young men get their opportunity to play on Saturdays for Auburn, because I think all of them are tremendously talented. But Mike, what are your thoughts on the pickup there for Braylon and for the direction of the recruiting for Auburn?
All the August 1st people, Ike. It's August 1st. Why are recruits suddenly falling from the ceiling? What, man? The people pretending not to understand that John Cohen meant after August 1st, you would see a pivot in recruiting, and that would necessitate a change in the results is crazy to me. People who actual members of the media, it was an actual question during a press conference where they asked Hugh Freeze, "Well, it's August 1st. You guys have talked about August 1st." Like it was Y2K. At the stroke of midnight, all the computers in the world are going to shut down. The amount of people that I consider to be fairly intelligent folks that pretended not to understand this is wild. And for that question to be asked in a press conference blows my mind. It does. If that sounds like I'm taking a shot at somebody, it's because I am. It's dumb. That's dumb. So, here's where we're at. It's not just that they landed, because I saw a Mississippi, like a Bama guy tweet this yesterday. I forgot the guy's name, Ryan C. Lowry or something like that. He said, "Congrats on Auburn on being like right over Mississippi State and 12th in recruiting in the SEC." First of all, they're not done, Ryan. Like, y'all keep moving the goalposts here now that recruits are starting to commit. But number two, it's not just that they landed a recruit, a 5-star safety, which, by the way, Rivals tweeted out that he was the number 1 safety in the country, and then suddenly he dropped to number 3 like 3 days later.
That's typical of Rivals.
Yeah, well, it's so typical. And I used to be down on 3 in their rankings but now they're the same. So, like, I got to throw y'all all in the same boat. I'm telling you, it's not just that they landed a recruit. It's who they're landing.
Yeah.
Top 100 kids. That's what tells the story. Auburn's lack of ranking right now is just about numbers. If they had a bunch of 3 stars on the back of this right now, they'd be top 10 in recruiting already. Stop pretending to not understand this. They got 13 recruit commits, Ike, in the class?
13, yes.
Yeah, On 3, I think, has them 22nd. 247 has them 35th. I could have that backwards.
No, that's right. 35th for 247.
Yeah, and 22nd for On 3. So they're already top 25 as far as On 3 rivals are concerned. Probably because they value one of those kids higher than 247 does. I generally stick with 247's rankings, but, the On 3 has us higher right now, so we'll roll with them.
That's what you got to do. That's the rules.
Yeah. I cannot wait until December gets here and Auburn is because you got to remember, you can be top 10 recruiting and still like 5th or 6th in the SEC in recruiting.
Right.
So it is not a knock to say, because that's where the goalpost is going to go. You're the 6th best class in the SEC. Oh, yeah. Okay, but we're top 10. So what that boils down to, Caesar, is that how well did you evaluate the guys that you brought in versus the guys that they brought in? A higher ranking does not mean that they're a better player. Once you get to that level, the difference between those classes is like minimal.
There's a correlation between how high your ranking is. Granted, you're getting big time recruits, but there's a correlation between how many guys you have committed to your team already. Teams that are really high have a lot of commitments right now. Auburn is still sitting at 13th.
I'm looking at that right now. Georgia has 31 commits. Again, remember when I'm saying these numbers, Auburn has 13. Georgia has 31. USC, and I'm looking at 247 and going in order, 32, Notre Dame 27, Texas A&M 27, Bama 21, Texas 21. Oregon only has 17, LSU has 18. Those are the only ones in the teens right there in the top 10. Ohio State with 21 and Michigan rounding out the top 10 with 22. But I could literally keep going and name 20s, high 20s, 36 for North Carolina, right? Like,
and mind
Auburn only has 13,
and
bro.
mind you, Auburn's been picking up recruits over the last. They didn't even have 10 at one point, maybe several weeks ago. So there's a reason. Also, that reason has to factor into why they're low as they were.
Yeah. This particular topic has me really turned up because when I heard Cohen say it, like I just heard. Okay, like I understand that it's not like if they're going to like make a kid an offer on like August 1st at midnight, and then when we wake up that morning, and Auburn's gonna have 10 more recruits. Does that even sound like anything reasonable? Does that even sound like anything he would be saying?
Right.
That's how everybody was acting.
Ever said that. Literally, no one said that, and it baffles me how many people have now repeated that narrative that I thought you guys said. Who is you guys? Nobody said that. Nobody. John Cohen didn't say that. Hugh Freeze didn't say that. There were no media reporting that. You definitely didn't hear anybody on this channel saying that. Nobody said after August 1st, Auburn's going to jump in recruiting rankings because of whatever anomalous reason you've decided that that's not a real thing.
Yeah. Right now, by average composite star, right, there are barely 10 teams ranked higher than Auburn per 247's rankings. All the teams currently in the top 10, right? And like a couple teams outside of the top 10 right now. By composite star, Auburn is on the brink of a top 10 class.
Right.
So,
and I've heard different reports of how many Auburn expects to take this year. Like a testament of what Hugh Freeze has done through the portal and through high school. Hugh Freeze is not even in a situation where he has to fill out this class. Like he's truly addressing needs and going after some of these big kids, like this number one safety. But they've done such a good job to where they now are being very selective. Like they're not trying to catch Georgia in terms of numbers. They're not trying to catch these other programs.
Look, guys, Mississippi State has 28 3-stars in their class. 28. Now you tell me whose team is better primed for the future. Auburn, who is sitting on 2 top 10 recruiting classes plus a top 25 class where they have a 5-star, multiple 5-stars, depending on what service you're looking at, some 4-stars and some 3-stars, or Mississippi State, who is already at the bottom of the league with 28 3-star players. Somebody posted in a video Braylon Womack returning punts. In his high school game this past Friday, he returned a punt for a touchdown, reversed field, looked every bit of the 5-star that he is. He's an athlete.
Yeah.
You know, and when you get those kids, those are the game breakers. Those are the kids that come in who you, in a year or two, you're talking about being in the Heisman conversation. The advantage that Bama and Georgia and some of the other programs in college football have had. What's the receiver at wide that everybody? I'll have Jeremiah Smith that everybody is high on. Those kids. Those are the kids 2 or 3 years from now that we're sitting here saying they are getting all the hype going into the season as some of the best top 5 players in college football. Auburn, what you should be focused on rather than the ranking is the fact that Auburn is pulling in those kids. I don't care if they only have 13 commits in the class. And the other thing that John Cohen was trying to say is that now, if what Auburn was banking on that if the cap was going to be enforceable, you were going to see teams like Auburn who had recruited well the prior years spend more money on retention over acquisition, which makes sense if you're managing a cap. That's how the pros work. You win the Super Bowl, Guess what? You have to decide whether you want to keep the quarterback that won you the Super Bowl or reset and start building again for the future. That's why when you have players like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, it becomes this whole thing at the end of the career. Like, well, they won so much, we got to let them go out on their own terms. But also, we got to start setting our franchise up for the future. And they're hamstringing us because they still want to get paid. That's pro sports. That's what we have. If you've watched the NFL, you know this. That's where Auburn's at. So, like, the fact they may not have the cap space to bring in 3 Braylon Womacs, but the fact that they can even get 1 tells you that they have not fallen off in recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a disingenuous conversation that people have been having around this, and I understand that, something that you've been saying about, the thing that you're good at, you can't all of a sudden be bad at when you're failing in these other areas. And so it made it easy if you were not a fan of Coach Hugh Freeze to poke fun at the recruiting because he'd been doing so well at that and it hadn't manifested on the field. And it's like, see, now you can't do anything right. And it's like, do you really think he forgot how to do that? The one thing that he's like excellent at, all of a sudden he just was, the results aren't like that. It's such a disingenuous conversation, bro.
But what a lot of people were banking on is that recruits were suddenly waking up and deciding that Auburn is not a good program to commit to. And I asked John Cohen this directly. I said, John, honestly, do you feel like the results on the field have anything to do with recruits' hesitation, proof of concept? He looked me dead in my eye and said, Mike, I don't think it has anything to do with it. Hold on, wait, that's a lie. This was a phone conversation, so he didn't look me in my eye, but said it with his whole chest via phone. He said, I don't think that has anything to do with it, right? We have chosen to commit to a certain trajectory in recruiting, a certain method, and other schools are not following that same method right now. But should we be wrong, we're prepared to pivot after August 1st. Now, when the court ruling came down that said the collectives are to be treated as any other third-party business entity, I think that erased the importance of that August 1st number. Because it was before August 1st, if I remember correctly, that they landed the other kid. So they pivoted immediately. What was the kid's? You know what I'm talking about, Ike.
I mean, I do know what you're talking about, but y'all know me and recruits.
Jacquez Wilkes. Yeah. Highly rated 4-star linebacker. And so I don't, man, it's there. The proof's in the pudding. They're still landing these big time kids. So if it were a money issue, there was nothing to stop Auburn from putting more money on the table after August 1st. Nobody signs till December. You can't call it tampering anymore. It's just an open free market. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't look, man. Braylon Womack sees what all these other guys see. And, the thing that I saw from that Bama guy's post, I think he does Locked on Bama, was that he was saying, well, recruits talk. And so that's part of why you're seeing the dip in recruiting for Auburn. And saying that on a tweet where Auburn is literally climbing the recruiting rankings is next level stupid. It's next level dumb. Recruits talk. Well, what did they say to Braylon Womack? Because he committed. Clickbait, rage bait is getting dumber and less intelligent by the day, guys. Your point was the rage bait.
I think it's easy engagement because they know Auburn fans are going to jump through the roof about it. But man, it feels like it's a concentrated effort to say something stupid about Auburn and hope Auburn fans get upset about it. It's like, that's just the strategy. It's like, oh man, we could say something dumb in the Auburn conversation and people will definitely react to that.
Yeah, when it's random people on Twitter, I don't really much react to. When it's actual credentialed media, it does kind of rub me a little.
Well, those are the people whose engagement they need. They need people to read their articles. Yeah. They need people to come by and say their name.
It's the same. It's the same thing. Same thing.
Yeah, true. That's true. It's very true. So
it is
Braylon
what it
Womack,
is, man.
But before we move on, I do want to make sure that I am highlighting here that it is not just that they got a recruit, it's who they got. The number 13 overall player, I think somebody said he's like the 6th highest rated recruit in Auburn history or something like that.
It's a big deal.
It's like top 10. He's like top 10 in terms of in Auburn history, in terms of recruits that come in. You know, he's not as high as Cam Coleman, but he's pretty far up there. When you're getting those types of kids, those types of game-breaking kids, your program has a chance to stay ahead of the middle of the pack. Guys who their single game impact will mean the difference between winning and losing. Cam Coleman will be the difference between Auburn winning and losing at least 2 games this year. If he's healthy, he's worth 2 games. That's how good he is. When he's off the field, you are a worse football team.
Yeah.
Just the attention that he draws. Didn't have to have big numbers to impact the game. He just has to be on the field. You're a better football team. Braylon Womack is going to be that kind of guy. And what I love about the Hugh Freeze era is that you are getting like 1 or 2 of those kids every class.
Yeah.
After a couple years, you have a chance in that 3rd year to be really special. If you happen to hold on to all of them, like Saban was doing, you got a chance to be really, really special. So this is my argument for Hugh Freeze to remain the coach. Maybe regardless of how the season goes. Because it would be foolish to think that if you get rid of him, that some of this talent is going to walk out the door. And I don't know if I want. What I don't want to be is I don't want to be Ole Miss. Somehow end up with really good players, but never able to get over the hump. I was talking to somebody about this on a show yesterday. It was like, why isn't Lane Kiffin under more fire than he is for Ole Miss not making the playoff last year? Is it because when you just used to being broke, is that it? I don't understand it. You had the schedule. You had the best quarterback in the league. You had the defense. You had everything set up for you. And then you beat Georgia and then lost to Kentucky. For as much crap as Hugh Freeze gets, what a very Hugh Freeze-ish thing to do.
Yeah.
Beat Georgia, lose to Kentucky. It feels like beat Bama, lose to Vanderbilt.
That loss.
Auburn beat Kentucky by 2 scores, by the way.
That loss was ugly. And it was at home. You didn't even go on the road to lose that game.
Come on, man. Come on.
Goodness gracious.
The Lane Kiffin experience is it really that much better than the Hugh Freeze experience?
Listen,
right now,
I will give Lane Kiffin the edge in play calling right now because I think that he's a better play caller today and being able to do. But God, he does some of the most asinine things, and I'm just
as
like,
a head coach, he self-destructs. We watch it real time in games. Watch the Egg Bowl. There are games you had no business losing to Mississippi State the way that you did. He self-destructs. He does it in games and over a course of a season with you being in the driver's seat to be able to really, Mike, moonwalk into the playoffs. You find a way to self-destruct. That's him as a coach. As an offensive mind and play caller, I will give Ike that 10 times out of 10. Like he's one of the best. Outside of Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin is definitely proven. But as a head coach running a program, you had opportunities to take the next step. And he blows it.
Y'all seen the episode of when you said he had an opportunity to moonwalk into the playoffs? There's an episode of the Cosby Show where Sandra and Elvin go to the Michael Jackson concert, and they leave the babies with the parents, and he comes back. He's like, "And I brought something else for you." And he goes to the back and he starts showing them how he moonwalks, and he falls backwards into their baby playpen. That's the image I got of Lane Kiffin trying to moonwalk into the playoffs and then flipping over backwards into the baby playpen.
That's hilarious. Love it.
All right. Let's get over here to these comments because we have quite a few of those before we get out of here. Beat Georgia will get us started with mention Auburn and your page gonna do numbers, proven science. That seems to be the route that folks are taking here. Super chat from Anthony Long, who says, this is a pivotal year for the Auburn program. Auburn has to be in the playoff talks this year. Auburn has been mediocre since 2020. I don't want Auburn to become Nebraska. Stop the bleeding. I mean, listen, playoff talks means that you probably won 9 games. I don't know that there's going to be an 8-win team that gets you into a playoff conversation. But I don't want to be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs before the final stretch of the season gets here. So at least be in striking distance of the playoff conversation, I guess would be. But yeah, we can't be sitting here previewing another year talking about Auburn. And this is something that you said the other day, Mike G. We can't be sitting here having conversations during the offseason again next year where there's anybody who's saying the floor for Auburn is miss a bowl game. Like that should be such a ludicrous thought in the minds of people that saying that coming out of your mouth, you're going to be like, okay, you're obviously trolling.
And it was Josh Pate that said that.
Right.
In his season preview, he said Auburn could make the playoff or Auburn could miss a bowl game. And I'm like, I cannot believe that the floor is still miss a bowl game. I get that, but that's hard for me.
Yeah. If Auburn after the Georgia game, if Auburn has been eliminated from playoff consideration, the first half of this year didn't go as expected.
Yeah. No, the first half
Auburn has failed. Auburn has failed, right? Like you failed this year. If we can forget about Auburn being considered as a playoff contender after Georgia, Auburn has definitely lost a few games here.
Yeah. Let's see. Riley Mobley from all the way across seas says, I said, war, damn eagle. I am so happy to see them smiling grills on my screen again. Miss y'all since basketball season. Glad to have you back in here with us, Riley.
Man. Good to have you back.
Yes, sir. We ain't going nowhere, of course. We've been here. Welcome back to you because we've been here.
Be safe, sir.
Beat Georgia says, love us 5-star, but would love to have got one of those at a thinner position like offensive tackle. This feels like a Gus type of pickup, to be honest.
No, number 13 overall. No. Braylon Wallach is not a Gus pickup.
Yeah, and what I'll say about that is I agree. I think that Auburn needs to fortify the offensive tackle position. But I do think that Auburn's done well in the previous classes with the offensive line, and they still have some opportunities to flip some guys in the offensive line group coming up here. So I think that I do believe, considering what we've seen from Coach Hugh Freeze and the recruiting efforts, they have a laser focus on certain areas that they're going after. And they usually do a good job of landing those guys. And I believe that that offensive tackle position will be a huge focus for them to try to land at least one major offensive tackle recruit in this class before December rolls around.
And I understand this. I understand this comment here because you want to see that 5-star by an offensive tackle coming out of high school.
For sure.
What I think Hugh Freeze and staff has done that differs from what Gus has done is Hugh Freeze has been able to get comparable talent out of the transfer portal at offensive tackle. Whereas before, Auburn wouldn't get that guy, and that would just be it, right? You would either have to convert a guard or some type of makeshift line to account for that. This staff has still done a good job of getting guys of need from the transfer portal. But I agree. I would love to see a 5-star pickup from offensive tackle out of high school.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a developmental position. You got to get those guys in the program and get them ready. And so there's not a lot of guys that are ready to go as freshmen straight out of high school at those positions. So stack them, develop them, and get them ready to go.
Yep. For Sutton, Ephesians 2:8-9 says, Ike, I'm sure you all have explained this already, but is the pregame, halftime, and postgame all members only lives this year? We haven't talked about this a bunch, but we can go ahead and talk about it now. Postgame has never been all members only. The only restrictions we may have put on postgame have been like you have to be a member maybe to chat on that one, or a subscriber to it, at least subscribe to the channel to chat. So it's going to be open to everyone to be able to view at least for the postgame. But pregame has been, I'm pretty sure what we've done for pregame has been members only chat, but open for everybody. And halftime is member only viewing. Like you can't even view halftime unless you're a member. And I think we're probably going to stick with that formula going forward, because those are just not like, there aren't a bunch of people showing up to the pregame, not a bunch of people showing up at halftime. So we try to keep that as something for our members. But postgame, we definitely let everybody come in and talk, and we might, cut it off for just members only in the chat, but that's not even something that we do all the time there. Any other thoughts before we get up out of here on this Sunday game week, getting ready for Baylor? Again, a lot of conversation still left to be had about that.
Yeah, I mean, Wednesday we're going to make probably everyone's going to solidify their predictions for the game. Friday, so it's going to come up a little faster than the normal week. I'm kind of glad we get to watch football stress-free on Saturday while everybody's figuring out whether their team's going to open up with a winner or not. Auburn fans will already know where they stand. But the only other game on Friday night, I think, is Georgia Tech, Colorado. And there's some games on Thursday night this week as well too. Auburn's got to get off to a fast start. I think I'm going to be disappointed, fellas, if this doesn't, if we don't see at least the flashes of what could be the greatness of this talent. Yeah. Changes in play calling and approach, man. If they roll out there in 12 personnel, I'm going to throw my remote. You recruited all these receivers to only put 2 of them on the field at a time. That was going to be very, very disappointing to me. I think
that's going to be about how well they block. If they can block them up front without having to have the additional pass blockers in there, then they're going to let it ride. But those guys up front got to deal with it, or they have to make sure. There's a couple of things that contribute to that. Are the wide receivers winning early in their routes so that Jackson Arnold can get rid of the ball quickly? Is Jackson Arnold making his decisions quickly enough? And is the offensive line blocking well enough, right? Like, so if it's 3rd and long scenarios that you're in often, or you're backed up inside your own 10 because of some special teams blunder or amazing punt, you're going to see different personnel packages that are going to dictate that kind of stuff. But if it's just normal first down from the 25, open it up and let's see what we got.
Yeah. Agreed. And
all true.
If you still got to end up in 12 personnel because of those things, still disappointing. Because you have the talent to be able to do what Hugh Freeze wants to do,
or you should.
You should,
because this is your team now. This is year 3. I don't hear nothing about what Harsin left you. Like, none of that matters. This is year 3. With the advent of the portal, you had the ability to go out and beef up those positions if you needed to get blocking, and then or develop those guys into blockers. But I mean, everything Ike is saying is true. I'm just saying, if that's the case, I'm going to be really, really disappointed.
Agreed.
That's still the case in year 3, because then we're going to get to that post game. Ike, you're going to go to the post game in Waco, and he's going to say, "Well, we had to shrink it down to the things we felt like we did well." No. It's year 3. You're supposed to do everything well. It's your offense.
I'm not ready to melt down after game 1.
I am full on crash out.
Hey, Ike, you remember we watched the spring game with Harsin and Mike Crash.
So, did we not record that or something?
We did not. That was not a live recording, and it so should have been.
Man, because I have wanted to go back and watch that multiple times, and I just don't have it available to do, and I'm very disappointed.
It was very difficult accepting in the spring that looked that bad. In the spring, I was like, I don't want to lose hope in the spring. It's the spring. Spring is for new beginnings, guys. You spring cleaning,
It was a new
spring
beginning.
training.
It was a new beginning.
Yeah, spring is for new beginnings. God, man, I was like, yo, I am already out of hope. It's only March.
They're beginning to fail.
Yikes.
Yeah,
dude.
man. Yeah, I'm listen, bro. I am so ready for this game to happen so that we can get out of the what maybes and we'll sees and
Facts,
we'll know what is, and we can
Yeah,
start
man.
talking about what is again. And I'm looking forward to it. All right. So I normally don't address him out loud on this, but he just said a ridiculous statement. All the pressure is on us. I only think one of the two teams in Friday's game is being picked to be a top 25 potential team, a team that could be sneak their way into the college football playoff, and a team that could be picked to win their conference.
Yes, they're expected to compete for their conference.
Big
There's
12.
only one of the two teams Friday is even being mentioned in those types of conversations. To say all of the pressure is on Auburn is
Demonstrably false. Yeah.
It's such a ridiculous statement. It's such a ridiculous statement that I don't think you believe that.
Yeah.
Again, Baylor fans have been crying about how they're being disrespected in the media. And now finally Vegas is actually giving y'all what y'all want, a reason to feel like an underdog. But for the longest, ESPN still has Baylor predicted to win this game. Most national the sports correspondents still picking Baylor to win this game.
That's facts.
Baylor has a Heisman candidate in quarterback over there on their team. They're being picked to win their conference and make it to the college football playoff, but somehow Baylor's the one being disrespected. Oh no, everybody expects good things from us. The disrespect. Get over yourself. Stop trying to cry like you're being put down by everybody. And just accept the fact that people actually think you're going to be good.
Yeah,
in
there are
this
expectations
season.
on Baylor. And remember, like I said, I cover UCF, and I'm telling you, on that side, when we do our like Big 12 podcasts and stuff, we talk all the time. Baylor is expected to contend for the Big 12. Nobody's expecting Auburn to win the SEC this year. As a matter of fact, we at the top of the show said that the floor is still miss a bowl game for Auburn. Right. So if anything, there's kind of an expectation that it could all implode for Auburn. But, I think it's a hard, like, I don't want the statement that we think that the statement that he's making, all the pressures on Auburn, is false to say that there's no pressure on either team. I think there's pressure on both teams.
Never. There's a huge amount of pressure on
But
Auburn.
what's been said is the pressure is they don't feel pressure like Auburn feels. No, you feel pressure too.
No. You feel pressure.
Dave Aranda needs this game.
Yeah.
Dave Aranda's been at Baylor longer. They have the higher expectations on this. And be clear about this. If the first year of the 12-team playoff is true, I've said this before, if it holds true, the Big 12 is only getting one team in. So if you don't win the conference, you're not getting in. Period. Now, you can lose this game and still win your conference, but if you lose this game, you better win your conference or you got no shot. Let's also be clear. Auburn can lose this game regardless of if they lose this game, how are they going to win other games? There's still plenty of other marquee games left on Auburn's season for them to be able to make this up and not win the conference and still make the college football playoff. Auburn can lose to Baylor and still not win the SEC and still make it to the college football playoff.
Yeah,
Tell me a scenario in which Baylor loses this game, loses the Big 12, and makes the college football playoff.
Well, the precedent is
name
set.
it.
Look at all the teams from the Big 12 last year that had a chance to make the playoff, and they all blew it down the stretch. BYU was probably the most disappointing out of all of them.
Yeah.
I was a big BYU guy. I liked Jake Retzlaff. He's no longer with the program. Iowa State was in position. Colorado was in position. Kansas State, could have been in position, and just one after one after one, they all fell by the wayside. I would say this. Look, man, Baylor, once upon a time at midseason last year, Baylor's season hopes were in the toilet. They started 2-4. Everybody they played with a pulse beat them. And then they went into one of the easiest stretches of football in P4 last year, and they won those games. They won, I think, like 6 straight, was it, Ike, to close their season out before getting shellacked by LSU and Garrett Nussmeier in that bowl game. The LSU put a 44 spot on them. So, I mean, again, I'm saying it as somebody who pays attention to Baylor because I have to. They're on UCF's schedule. And I think that they're a good football team. I do. And the problem, now I won't say it's a problem. I think it's a good thing to have the expectations on your program. Hugh Freeze has said this. If there are expectations on you, it's because you've done enough to give people those expectations. So to say that you have no pressure means to say that there are no expectations on your football team this season. None. And if that's truly where you're at, you don't have as good a football team as you've been saying that you have. Right? If there are no expectations, there's no pressure on Baylor in this football game. All the pressure is on Auburn. No, well, that means that you're probably not a very good football team. Good football
or
teams,
you're admitting that the Big 12 is that bad.
Bad, yeah. Yeah, good football teams have pressure on them year in, year out. As a matter of fact, the mark between the good programs and the great ones is how they handle that pressure. Under Nick Saban, when it's been on Bama, they performed more often than not. Georgia, same thing.
You know,
right? Like,
I'm sorry, point. Like ASU, I thought that they did okay with the pressure in the playoff versus Texas. I mean, that was one of the best playoff games that we saw last year. But when it came down to it, all the pressure, I would say, was on Texas because nobody expected ASU to be there. I'm trying to make a point between the correlation between pressure and expectation. ASU was picked to finish dead last in the Big 12 last year. As a matter of fact, they abolished the whole damn Big 12 poll, preseason media poll. They didn't even vote. It was such a colossal disaster. The team they picked to finish worst finished first. And the team they picked to finish first finished worst. They could not have got it more wrong. And now, the truth, the mark of whether you are a truly great program is whether you can perform coming in with those expectations on you. That's what's made Bama so formidable over the years and some of these other programs is that they're expected to win, and they do. Some teams cannot handle the pressure of expectation. I'm looking at you, Ole Miss. They had it on them, and what did they do? They beat Georgia, and they lost to Kentucky. Auburn beat Kentucky by 14 points. You want the expectations, man. I think you're looking at it all wrong. I think Y2K, respectfully, I just think you're looking at this all wrong. You're actually putting your own team down by saying all the pressure's on Auburn. This is your house. You don't think there's pressure to defend your home field?
I sometimes, and I'm being honest when I say I wonder sometimes, do some of these, because I felt this way about Cal fans when they started doing this. It's like, I wonder sometimes, are you all used to having like real football conversations? Because like some of the stuff they be saying, I'm just like, bro, like, that's not real. Like, you're not saying stuff that's real.
You're not used to being in the spotlight. In the SEC, everyone's in the spotlight. That's the way Greg Sankey set it up. Every single team is in the spotlight every week, either because you are that good or the team that you're playing is that good.
Yeah.
That's how they said it. That's the beauty of, so when people make fun of like, why y'all root for conference? Because SEC fans understand something very simple. The better the teams around us are, right? Heather Dinich said this last year. Everybody laughed at her, but she said, look, man, the SEC could get 5 teams into this playoff and everyone's going to crow about it. And look, they didn't get 5 teams in, but she wasn't wrong about whether they could have gotten 5 teams. If Bama had won 10 games, they would have been in.
They could have, yeah.
And someone else would have been crying. If Ole Miss had won 10 games, they would have been in. If Missouri had won 10 games, they would have been in.
Yeah.
If South Carolina had won 10 games, they would have been in. There's one more team I'm missing.
Missouri.
I thought I said Missouri. Missouri, Bama, Ole Miss,
South Carolina.
Yeah,
it was Ole Miss, Bama, Missouri, South Carolina.
All 9 wins, and they all just barely missed it. If you're Ole Miss, all you have to do is just not lose to Kentucky, and you're in the playoff. But you don't have that cushion if you're Baylor. You can't lose to your version of Kentucky, whoever that is, and think you're getting in the playoff as a non-conference champion.
Name a team in that league. That's their version of Kentucky. Name a
You
team.
have to at least be the runner-up in that conference. You could be the 4th best team in the SEC and get into this playoff.
So, but here's the thing: I don't know that you can even be the runner-up and make it from the Big 12. Like that's my point.
Did the runner-up make it last year? Who was the runner-up last year? It's the
they didn't make it to the playoff. The ACC got the 2nd team in. The rest of them were Big 10 and SEC teams and the Group of 5 team.
Yeah, you had Boise.
They only got 1 team in last year, and I don't know how that changes this season.
Yeah, I'm more than certain because BYU was the runner-up. Yeah, and I'm looking at the teams right here. After Arizona State, it was BYU, Iowa State, Colorado, Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, Kansas State. Kansas State probably the most. And hear me out. BYU was an 11-win team last year.
Yeah, man.
Which means they went in to the bowl game season 10-2, and they didn't get in. Iowa State, 11-win team last year. They didn't get in. Colorado, 9 wins. Baylor, 8 wins. TCU technically finished under Baylor because of conference record, but they didn't get in at 9 wins. Texas Tech, 8 wins, didn't get in. Kansas State, 9 wins, didn't get in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just take the comment away from Y2K. Don't know you, buddy. Probably a great guy, but the whole point about pressure is loser talk. This is loser talk. You got more pressure on you, buddy. No, you got more pressure to lose. No.
You want the smoke?
Who cares?
Yes, smoke.
This is your moment.
This
seize
is
the moment. This is
what. Well, I'll make it personal for Y2K, Caesar.
Go ahead.
Auburn fans,
good cop, bad cop.
I'm going to make it personal. The problem that Auburn fans have had is that tradition. We're tired of being the winning when we're the underdog. Right? Auburn made a national title coming off their worst season in 50 years in 2013. They went 3-9 in 2012. If you had bet $100 on Auburn to win the national title preseason in 2013, they had beat Florida State, you would have won $25K. That's what a long shot they were based on what they did the year before. Yeah. And if you're Auburn, you know this, right? The 2004 season where they just recently claimed that national title, and they should have, because USC vacated it, baby. It's staying off the record books. They don't get that title back. And Oklahoma lost the game 55-19. Auburn was the only P4 undefeated conference champion that year. They claimed the title, but that was coming off a season where they literally had to fire the university president and the athletic director for trying to hire Bobby Petrino before they fired Tommy Tuberville. You know, you should not have to, if you are a good program, you should not have to sneak up on people.
Right.
Think about this, right? Nobody believed Cam Newton was real until after Auburn beat LSU. I will never forget not Lee Corso. I'm sorry. What's the other guy's name? Lou Holtz. Go on and on about how Cam had not been hit before they played LSU and this and that. And an hour and a half later, Cam Newton was dragging Patrick Peterson into the end zone. Heisman candidate on Heisman candidate violence. And Cam Newton won that. And he won every single battle he got in that season. I would argue, I don't know if any player in the history of college football had more pressure on them going into a game than Cam Newton had going into the Iron Bowl that year.
Oh, man.
Tell me which player had more pressure on them. And then the game started an absolute disaster, down 24-0, unshakable. I would argue one of the greatest comebacks in college football history. Down 24-0 on the road against Nick Saban, multi-national championship winning coach, with Mark Ingram at running back and Greg McElroy at quarterback and Julio Jones at wide receiver. And they won. Champions handle pressure. That's what they do. We've seen it in our lifetime.
Yep.
And we hung the banner. Y2K, we hung it. They won the title that year. Cam won every award you could win. Maxwell won it. Heisman won it. Whatever the award for kicker is, give it to Cam. That's how good he was. He didn't kick a ball, but just give him that award anyway. Hell, he even caught a touchdown pass that season against Ole Miss.
Give him the Bolitnikov.
Coach of the year.
100% catch percentage. Caught everything thrown his way.
They did. I'm telling you. Yeah, do you remember? Everybody talks about the LSU run, but low key, my second favorite play from Cam was the run, the 50-yard run versus South Carolina. Hand on the ground up the sideline where he like Superman it from the 8-yard line or something crazy like that. You know, it wasn't just what was at stake in that Iron Bowl. He was under investigation. Every time you turn on to TV, all they were talking about was, did Cam Newton get paid this and that?
No,
and
going into that game, it was talk about should he even play.
Yes,
like he shouldn't even suit up.
Auburn had the lawyer up, Caesar.
Yeah,
he was actually suspended for like a day.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Pressure is what makes diamonds, man. It's what makes champions. You want it. So you really want to sit up here with your whole chest and say all the pressure is on Auburn. Because if you don't have any pressure, it means that you're shit. You want the smoke, man. It probably sounded good in your head to say, well, we ain't got no pressure on us. No.
I do not know why they have this insistence about trying to make it this me against the world thing, dog.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Just say, look, man, there's immense pressure on us to win. We return, I think it was, I ran the numbers.
Emojis in the chat, y'all.
Yeah, it's like 70% of their starting lineup on both sides, total that they return. This is, by and large, a very experienced and what should be a very gelled Baylor football team. And some of the guys, and I'm just talking starting, a lot of the guys who were stepping into starting roles were on the team last year.
Yeah.
They have a lot of continuity. And if you're going to have pressure in any year, it's going to be in years where you return a majority of your starting talent and or your new starting talent was on the team the year before. Because it is a referendum on whether you developed those guys or not. Are guys getting better year over year? That's where the pressure comes from Auburn. Your whole wide receiver room returns. Your 2 starting running backs return. Your starting tight end returns.
3 of your 5 offensive linemen returning guys.
Return.
Right? So your defense returning the vast majority of those guys, right? And so you've got pressure. They're young, right? You've got a lot of youth, but you have a lot of continuity year over year. This is the first season in forever where you have the same offensive coordinator and head coach going into a second year and the same defensive coordinator.
Yeah, that is true.
So, same system year over year. Has not been a thing at Auburn for a while. I think people kind of forget that. Actually, I know we're way over our time now, and we still have some more comments. I was actually listening to a conversation on Sirius. I gotta go. So I was listening to a conversation on Sirius XM about defensive terminology and how it differs in the way that you're able to react as a defensive player. And he made the analogy talking about pretty much defenses are what they are. But when you call things, and this is something Hugh Freeze talked about with the way that he calls offense, when you call the same thing different stuff, it takes a moment for you to translate in your head from what you're used to calling it to what this new call is. And so the amount of time it takes for you to say, oh, when he says eagle, he means 3-4 with a this and this and that. And so you're using your time to translate. Then you got to think, okay, now I got to know where I'm going to line up. Now I need to know whether or not my coverage is this. And so you're reacting a lot slower because you're still thinking about the process. And he made the analogy to learning a different language. They say you don't actually know a language until you start thinking in that language, not translating to that language, right? So if I say to you, cat, are you immediately thinking gato because you've been speaking Spanish your whole life? Or do you have to take a minute and say, okay, now what does cat mean in that language again? Oh, yeah, that's that. Now I can respond. that time it takes to do that is the difference between being able to play with speed on the field and second guessing everything, because you're like, okay, now what was my coverage assignment on that one again? Okay, I need to be here. And then the ball snapped now, and you still trying to remember where you were supposed to be in alignment. But when you have the same guys year over year doing that, everybody just kind of has already been speaking this language, so you're able to move a lot more quickly when you're doing stuff. That stuff actually matters. Even if you're a really good player, it takes time for you to be able to do that consistently.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff matters, man.
Yeah, look, man, pressure is not something you run from when you're a great program. It's something you embrace. And I think that Auburn fans, I can't speak for Baylor fans, but I can tell you, Auburn fans are ready to be at a point where they are actually embracing the pressure and not running from it.
Right.
So, and for what it's worth, there are a ton of Auburn fans who have the same sort of mindset that Y2K has about this game, because they've been jaded from years of coming up short and not quite getting there. And at some point, you've got to cross that line as a program where the expectation becomes a good thing. Because the greatest crime that happened to that 2004 team is that they did not have the weight of expectation going into that season. It's what kept them out of the national title game. Oklahoma and USC played that whole season as the preseason number 1 and 2. And they never lost, so they never came up. And that preconceived bias that a lot of the media had is what kept Auburn out of the national title game.
Yeah.
Then Oklahoma gets booty blasted 55-19, and everyone's like, well, how did they get in the game? They had the weight of expectation on them because their program had become accustomed to having that expectation on them. Now, I believe Oklahoma won the national title in 2000?
Yeah.
Right?
2000. They beat Florida State.
Yeah, they weren't that far removed from the precipice of college football achievement. And so, you've had those Auburn teams. Remember, while 2003 was an extreme disappointment prior to the undefeated season, they went in number 6 in the country when they played USC that year. Auburn was bordering on a top 5 team, and then they got goose-egged at home when the weight of expectation was on them. So at some point, you got to be able to play with that expectation, and I think that's what Auburn fans are hoping. That have they crossed now that this is a Hugh Freeze coach team and they've crossed it? I think that Baylor, and this is a compliment to Baylor, you cannot be a good litmus test if you are not a good football team, or the game wouldn't mean anything. Right? I think beating Baylor is going to be a significant accomplishment for Auburn, especially game 1.
Yeah.
No, it will be. And again, like this, so I'm not trying to downplay Baylor or their team to it is what I think they're a good team. I just think their fans are a little misguided.
Yeah. I think their fans, Auburn fans, understand generally that Auburn can lose this football game, but they understand how Auburn loses games like this. A lot of Baylor fans seem a little delusioned that they could actually lose this football game.
Yeah.
And so I like the idea that there's expectation on Auburn. I like the idea that there's pressure on Auburn. But I think that there's pressure on Baylor as well, too, man. Getting off to a fast start and winning a game like this. If you think about, I'll talk about another Big 12 matchup, Iowa State, Kansas State. It wasn't a pretty game, but there's pressure on that. That was a Big 12 opener that was also a season opener. There's pressure on both those teams to win that game. One of those teams is winless in conference today. So, if you're Auburn, your first 6 games are your toughest. And every game you lose in those first 6, man, puts the pressure on those games that should be a little bit more pressure-free. See more pressure on those games now.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Baylor and you really want to contend for the college football playoff, knowing that nobody but your conference champion made it last year, There is if you have an expectation that your team should contend for the playoff, losing this game puts immense pressure on them because you don't have 4 or 5 teams from your conference that can make it at the same time. The SEC
not a real
has
thing.
Yeah, Auburn could lose this game, clean their slate, and lose one other game and make the playoff easily. So yes, there's pressure on Baylor. Trust me, there's pressure. If you expect for them to do anything of note this season, if your argument is I don't expect them to do anything, then yeah, sure, there's no pressure on Baylor.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to these last comments here. Super chat from Felix, who jumps in and says 42-17 Auburn wins. That's a big number there, Felix.
I called it 38-21, so like we're not too far off. I think Auburn holds the line. Baylor's going to move the football early in this game. I see something wacky happening either way. I don't expect Auburn to turn the ball over a ton, but I think there could be a turnover that leads to a score. I don't think that Jackson Arnold will play I think he'll play a good game. I don't think he'll play a perfect game. There could be a pick in there. It sets Baylor up for a touchdown on a short field. These are going to be too good. But despite the fan talk, I think both teams really want this game.
Sure.
I don't think that the Baylor players are going in thinking there's no pressure on us in this one. No, there's an immense amount of pressure. And I think both teams are going to play like this is their Super Bowl.
Yep.
James Barnett, fellas, the only reason why Baylor is even being talked about is because they are playing Auburn. If not, the media wouldn't be talking about them. I mean, straight disrespect when I say it.
There's truth to this. There's truth to this. And hear me out, right? Like Auburn's a storyline all on its own. The things that are happening
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. Is a storyline all its own. So if they were not playing Auburn week 1, there would certainly be a lot less press around, assuming that Baylor wouldn't be playing some other huge football team. But like Auburn has been an off-season storyline outside of Baylor.
Yeah.
For months.
Yeah.
So there's truth to this.
Stephen Neely, great show as always, guys. It's officially game week, baby. Beat Baylor. Hashtag beat Baylor. Hashtag War Damn Eagle. Looking forward to this game for certain. It is talking season is almost done, y'all. Talking season is almost done. Donovan says, no matter what, War Damn Eagle. Donovan, love you, man. Appreciate the support. And yeah, man, listen, I understand. Your hurt is talking. Your hurt is in there saying Auburn ain't gonna be nothing until they show me otherwise. I get it, man. I get it. I'm not even mad at you for feeling that way.
I just think of that. I think of that scene in Avengers Endgame when they have to go get what's the guy's name? He was like, I want to believe or something like that. I think he was what's the guy's name? I can't even think of his name now.
I just watched Endgame too.
The guy who was with the Hawk something.
Hawkeye?
Oh yeah. You're talking about Black Widow wouldn't go fight. He's like, he said, don't give me hope. Don't give me hope.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Like when guys like Donovan remind me of Hawkeye when he says, "Don't give me hope."
Yeah.
Don't give me hope.
Yeah.
Leave me out here killing people.
Appreciate Mr. Sip for becoming a member. He is a Mississippi State fan. So, we got Mississippi State fans getting in here on the membership thing. Appreciate that. It feels like I'm paying some money so I can come talk junk at some point in time, but that's all right. Listen, I'm not mad at it. And then last one here, Rhino. What does this say? Rhino Ranchero. Okay, so after watching the Iowa State, Kansas State, I'm reminded of how first games can have nervousness and mistakes. That's why I'm thinking the lower scoring 28-17 range. This is fair. And this is actually one of the things that I thought about is like, will first game jitters plus, you've only been playing against your defense / your offense translate to some stuff not working the way that you thought it was? Like, man, this look is always open in practice and now it's not. Or when we were lining up against this and this and that, and we saw it on film, this is what I thought it was going to be like. Or the speed of this guy's a little bit more than what I thought it was going to be. So I thought I had more time to do X, Y, Z. And mistakes happen because you either underestimate some stuff or you misread some stuff that you're not getting the same looks that you thought you were going to. The question is going to be and that's why I caution people all the time, specifically in these early games, of not jumping out the window too early. If your team is up, if your team is down, teams make adjustments and stuff changes quickly. Momentum is a real thing, especially if Auburn is the team that's up in this scenario, because it's a home game for Baylor. If you're not up by like 3 touchdowns in the first half and you're only up by like 7 to 10, hold what you got, because that momentum can flip very quickly, right? And if you're Baylor fans, don't rest on your laurels too much, because if they go in that locker room and they make some adjustments because of the level of athletes that are out there and they start figuring out what you're doing, it could get painful in the second half. So,
yeah.
Listen, I can see this happening. Nerves early, stupid mistake happens, and you get a quick turnover or something, and you score, and it's like, oh, everybody's all hype, and then all of a sudden, that momentum flips on you, and the game goes a completely different direction. At the end of the day, though, you know, I don't. Who's in Waco besides remnants of David Koresh? I don't know, but we're gonna see what's happening down there in Waco, Texas, here coming up. All right. We are done for the day. Mike G, tell the people ways that they can support. Hold on, before we get into that, because I ain't pointed it out, but hopefully you guys have seen, we have made a slight change in our War Report branding. So the War Report logo is slightly different. So we're making some changes to some things. The War Report website went through a little bit of an overhaul. Mike G already announced we got Logan writing for the site, man. We are trying to slowly but surely make some adjustments to improve what we're doing out here. But how can they support all of these improvements we're doing?
You guys know the deal. Sign up as a member, $5.99 a month. Get you there. As Ike mentioned, lots of great written content. Want to welcome Logan Fowler, our new senior writer at thewarreport.com. Ike is putting up articles. I'm putting up articles. B. Will and C. Dub also putting up articles from time to time here. But if you want to read your coverage, we are doing that now too. So there's nothing you can get anywhere else that you can't get at the War Report. We're doing it all. But $5.99 a month will help keep that work that we're going. And guys, if you can't sign up for a membership, or you can't, buy something from a sponsor or whatever, we ask you guys to support the people who are supporting us. Just click. Go to thewarreport.com every day. Check out what we have there. All that helps us. So we appreciate you guys for doing that. I want to thank our title sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. You guys see the codes there on the screen to use for your Golden's Cast Iron weights or your grills. Golden's Cast Iron, great sponsors. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Also want to thank our brand new sponsor, AIM & Associates. You can visit them at aimanc.com. So we want to give a big Auburn welcome to our newest sponsor, Abel's Iannone Moore & Associates. They're an independent fee-only registered investment advisor, which means they're fiduciaries, required always to put their clients' best interests first. And they've been doing just that since 2003. Jeff Iannone, the president, and his wife, Robin, are both proud Auburn grads with 2 sons who have already graduated from Auburn and one still on campus. So you can tell this is an Auburn family through and through. And let me tell you something. Robin watches the channel more than Jeff. So Robin's our favorite. What I like most about them is that there's no minimum balance required, just straightforward, honest financial guidance built around you. And trust me, their approach is really different. In our talks where they became a sponsor, I had some conversations, I can tell you, were already impactful to my financial future. If you become a customer, I know that they can help you too. Contrary to popular belief, guys, you don't need millions to need solid financial advice to plan for the future. If you have a W-2 job and you have kids, speaking to a financial advisor and getting started on the path to financial freedom, savings, investments, whatever your goals may be, or goals maybe you don't even realize you have, you can find that, talking to these guys. So if you're ready for your financial advice that you can trust, call Abel's Iannone Moore & Associates at 912-777-4128 or visit AINC.com. That's AINC.com. And look, War Eagle. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iannone Moore & Associates for this endorsement. Abel's Iannone Moore & Associates is a registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The information in this advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be considered personal investment advice. All investing involves risks, including the potential for loss of principal, and past performance is not indicative of future results. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Use code reporter, get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. And our friends at the Vibe Vault, 462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. Vibe. One of our friends at setsforsociety.ai. Know yourself, become a better team, a better partner with Sets for Society. Their custom personality assessments get you started down the road to being all the things I just mentioned and more. There's nothing that cannot be gained from gaining a deeper understanding of who you are as a person and how that person relates to the world around you. Sets for Society can help you with that. Visit them at setsforsociety.ai to get started on your journey today. Guys, check us out on podcasts, all the podcast platforms. We are there bringing you lots of great audio-only content. The Auburn Express, Uptempo, College Loop, Just a Sec, and the War Report Gaming channel. If you're on the way to work, dropping the kids off at school, or just getting a workout in, the War Report can be in your eardrums, keeping you up to date on all the going-ons in Auburn sports. So subscribe on podcasts, turn on alerts and automatic downloads so you can stay up to date on all the Auburn news. And guys, that's it.
All right. Appreciate everybody who's jumped in here. If you're not doing the necessary, please go ahead and remedy that before you get out of here. Share the video with somebody, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. You can follow us at The War Report on X and Instagram, TW Report on TikTok. More great coverage of Auburn versus Baylor this week. We are talking nonstop about that this week. So be prepared, Y2K and the rest of the Baylor Bear minions who have invaded these spaces. Appreciate y'all for coming in and talking. We will look forward to talking with you all more up until Friday when it's time for the talking to cease. We're looking forward to it. We're out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle.